I will believe it when I
There we
see
go.
it, but I'm
live.
pretty sure
Countdown.
we're live.
All right, we got to get up to X and repost it and see if I get, see if it mentions me here. So
see if it mentions you. It should have mentioned you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right. Now I'm going to repost it. Oh, I want to link to that. I'm going to link to that post that I want to talk about on the show today.
I already have the link in the. Oh, I see. You're going to link to it in the thing. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
We're just getting ready to rock and roll here.
Absolutely.
Maybe I should put that we're in pre-show. There we go.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yep.
Quote this. Go. I could do my thumbs up and get some nice. Look at that.
You can do your thumbs up. I have it turned off for mine because.
Oh, you do?
Yep. Yeah, I have it turned off so like mine won't do it.
Yeah,
but
if I do lasers, everybody will stick around longer. Look at that.
That's right.
That's impressive.
That's how we do it.
Join us as we discuss this post.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it attracts people.
I'm gonna test our sponsors here. Hey, I will say this. Even if you've heard the spots before, you want to listen again because I have ChatGPT write my ad scripts, and my goal is to make me say things that are so funny I almost laugh when I'm saying them. Perfect. Like that's my goal is to have ChatGPT write me a script that's so ridiculous and yet still on brands. But I need to test this one. So, all right, folks. Yeah, that worked.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Just needed to know it was going to work.
I'm ready to start anytime you are. Thanks for joining us today. Let's go.
I'm ready to rock. Let's do it. Here we go. Business Brain, episode 526 for Wednesday, February 21st, National Sticky Bun Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take an idea or six, we dissect it, we analyze it, we use it so that we can each individually and collectively tune our business brains every single time we get together. Our sponsors for this episode include GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Squared Away empowers these highly educated military spouses to become your trusted remote executive assistants. I love this idea. It's brilliant. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. And now, here, 2 days later for the release, but recording on the 9th anniversary of the inaugural release of Business Brain here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in California, I'm Shannon Jean. Happy anniversary, Dave.
Happy 9th anniversary. Yeah. It's super weird. This show and Gig Gab both released their first episodes on the same day.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So we're 526 episodes in, 525.
525. Yeah. Assuming the recording's working, we're 526.
Yes,
yep.
That's right. And, we started the show. It was called DBA, Doing Business As.
Right.
Later, we changed it to the Small Business Podcast.
Small Business Show.
Show wasn't podcast. Okay.
No, it was Small Business Show.
Small Business Show.
Yep.
And then eventually changed it to Business Brain as we kind of tried to expand this concept.
Yep.
And it's been an amazing 9 years. When I tell people that we've had a podcast that's been published for 9 years, and somebody recently told me like 99% of podcasts don't make it past the first year, maybe the past.
Oh, not even past 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah. Most shows.
So I feel pretty happy. I love doing this show. I've learned a ton. We've written a couple of books, the mistakes book, the, what was it? The hiring book? Was it the,
partnership
book, partnership. That's right. And so, it's great. I still love doing it. It's one of the funnest and most, educational parts of my week every week.
Like anything, like anything that you do regularly, it forces me to focus on this, right? That which is monitored is managed. And I really believe that doing this show has, helped me with all of my businesses and
Same.
everything. It's great.
And it's expanded my network tremendously. The people that I've
Oh
met,
yeah.
that I've been able to help with some projects and some things, or just advise, and then also folks that have helped me. It's just a great opportunity. We've recorded shows about why every business should have their own podcast. There's some great tips in there about marketing your products and getting your exposure out. It's been great. I still enjoy doing it. I love the fact that even after 8.5 years, we switched things up, kind of got rid of agendas, didn't do interviews so often. Although the last two we've done have been terrific. I think that's a great different.
That's a good detour. Yeah,
it's a good detour. But I think we went a year without doing an interview, which was,
I think that's right. Yeah,
it was interesting. And then we split the show in half and did half on Wednesday. We recorded them at the same time, but then split it up, two different topics on Wednesdays and on Fridays, and our engagement's been up. And it's going.
Yeah, you folks seem to like it better. In fact, we have a backlog of emails from you that we do need to dig into as well. So
terrific.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to flood that feedback at businessbrain.show, and I'll jump in there and help.
Yeah. Thank you, folks. It really, it's a pleasure being able to do this show, and it means a lot that we've been able to do it for 9 years. That yes, sure, we can pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, we're bullheaded persistence, blah blah blah. It's true, whatever. But I don't like I thank all of you for continuing to listen and engage and all of those things. That's what keeps us doing the show.
Absolutely. So. And, this mantra that I've had for years and years, is this, how can I help? And I try to teach my kids that, the four most important words. And, we would love to help you, reach out to us, the podcast on, whatever platform, feedback at businessbrain.show if you want to email, and let's keep working together to build our business brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's feedback at businessbrain.show. And if you're wondering what to write us, you could say happy anniversary, but you could also give us your answer to how can we help? All right, folks. You ever feel like your to-do list is a hydra? Chop off one task and two more sprout in its place. Take me, for example. Coordinating recording schedules for the podcast is like trying to nail jelly to a wall sometimes. Tricky and messy. And don't get me started on research. It's a time-gobbling monster. Oh, and meetings? Without somebody there to take notes, I might as well be talking to my plants. They're great listeners, but not so hot on the follow-up. Enter the cavalry, a.k.a. our sponsor, Squared Away. These folks are on a noble quest to empower military spouses by turning them into your go-to remote executive assistants. It's like having your own business superhero, cape and all. Imagine having a sidekick who's not just reacting to fires, but is proactive, like a business-savvy fortune teller. Squared Away assistants are ready to leap tall buildings, or at least daunting to-do lists, in a single bound. And because they operate in all U.S. time zones and are as much a part of your team as anyone else, you're not just getting help, you're expanding your business family. So why wrestle with your schedule when you can have a Squared Away assistant do the heavy lifting? Don't wait. Contact Squared Away today to find out how they can help your business thrive. Just go to gosquaredaway.com/contact. That's gosquaredaway.com/contact. Here's to making your business life a breeze, and our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right, Shannon. Well, we have you had to give back what about $58,000? You were asked to give back $58,000 to
really
credit card companies
asked.
at one
they
point.
Just basically took it. Nobody calls you and says, "Hey, Shannon, do you want to give back that money?" No. It's all of a sudden you log into your bank and that money is gone. So I wanted to talk about chargebacks and fraud. Last year I looked up this statistic. Last year in 2023, small business owners got defrauded, $1.8 billion in chargebacks, stolen credit cards, all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to share my experience, try to help you not have to go through it and also get your feedback on how we could have avoided it. So,
tell me, I don't know that I've heard this story from you before.
Yeah. So
what happened?
Yeah. This was, a number of years ago. Normally I wouldn't take a credit card for $58,000. I just wouldn't do it. It'd be like, hey, look, you got to do a wire transfer, that kind of thing. But
I've done it too. Like, a corporate client or whatever, I want the money in house.
I do too.
So
that was my first mistake.
Willing to pay the 3%, like all of those things. Yep.
Yeah. And this was a trusted customer. Somebody that purchased like over $1 million worth of product from me and wanted to pay card. And I said, okay. He's like, yeah, I got to, kind of balance out. I said, all right, I'll do it. And I'm pretty sure he even paid the fees. So I was like, all right.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this guy, we did the charge, we shipped the product, and I think maybe about 3 weeks later, maybe even 4 weeks later, I got an email and the subject was, Shannon, I can't pay for these laptops. And I just looked at that. I said, what? I don't understand. You've already paid.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. So then I opened it up and there was a long sob story about, cash flow this, cash flow that. Didn't, the guy never called me or anything. Oh. And I quickly look in the bank, and it's like, okay, well, maybe how can I deal with this? And sure enough, the funds had already been deducted. And, typically back then when the bank, the merchant processor, they would send you a letter.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, this chargeback's been initiated. We've deducted the funds from your account. Would you like to dispute it? You could try to dispute it. And so it was devastating, as you can imagine. And so tried to, get this guy on the phone, wouldn't take my calls. It was just brutal. And he basically said, hey, I'm in trouble. He kept emailing me back. I can't make this payment. My cash flow's this. And so I've had to do the chargeback. And so I called the bank, called the merchant processor. Listen, man, I said, I don't have the laptops. This guy hasn't returned anything. Yeah. I haven't heard that there's any problems. And, the merchant services are really not on your side, surprisingly.
No. I have had them fall. I've had a few of these chargeback things over the years.
Yeah.
I've had, some of those go my way, but most of the time, even if I feel like you in this scenario, you were 100, you didn't do anything wrong. There was
correct.
And there was no return if you have post-purchase blues clause in there, right?
No. Yeah. So that's what I want to try to figure out too. Is I had some ideas in this post to how we could have avoided it.
Did you wind up getting the money or the laptops back?
Kind of.
Okay.
So after this guy told the merchant processor, hey, the laptops are defective. Okay. I said, great. I'll send a truck. We'll come pick them up like today. He says, oh, I can't do that because they're with my customer. So not only did he need my money, but he needed his customer's money too.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's where I really raised a stink. And I said, this guy doesn't even have the product. Oh, I'm going to get it back. So all of it was this kind of gambit to bide his time.
Yeah.
While his cash flow
he was floating, he was using you and others to float his cash flow.
The crazy thing, if he'd have called me and asked me to borrow $58,000, I probably just would have let him borrow it. I mean,
if he was that good of a customer, sure.
He was a great customer, and I knew him. I'd been out to his place and all this kind of stuff, but he didn't go that way.
But there's a lesson right there. Like, we always talk about how, networking is important. It's one of the reasons we go to like conferences and those sorts of things. This guy had already won that game. Like he had already networked with you to the point where you would have helped him in some way if he had only asked for help.
Should have.
We just said it before. How can we help you? How can I help you? We actually mean it when we throw that question out there.
Absolutely. Because if he would have called me after the purchase or whatever, I could have worked with him and said, okay, I tell you what, how much do you need? let's figure it out. Let me give you back some of this. Let's, we'll pay it off. I mean, there's ways to make it work. I didn't want to lose him as my customer.
Right.
And he, I know, did not want to lose me as a supplier, which that's what happened. We couldn't continue the relationship. I did eventually get back some laptops. We had to go fight back and forth because a lot of them didn't match what I'd sold him. This guy eventually went out of business. And
I'm not surprised to hear that. Yeah.
He was a great guy. And
Sure.
I realized that, okay, so now doing this postmortem, where did I screw up? Number one, I never took a credit card payment for anything that big. Anything over 10 grand, we just, this is, forget it. Take it or leave it. Number two, I think I put up in here. So I created this form that I required them to sign in anything, even like 10 grand. And it was so
punitive.
It caused a lot of friction.
Yes.
Right? And the purpose of it wasn't really even to get them to sign it and initial everything. The purpose was to get them to just send a wire transfer.
Right.
It's like, okay, if you have to use a credit card, you have to go through this, 5-page form, initial everything, sign here over and over and over, and agree that this is, and even though I don't know whether I could have enforced it, it worked pretty well. It got, most people said, we can't sign this thing. And I said, okay, send me a wire transfer.
That's
and
okay. Just send me a wire transfer.
Yeah,
right.
Just send me a wire.
Right.
And, I've had a lot of responses on this post that, people had created funnels on the website with check boxes that you must agree to this. And,
this
and
a lot of that can be used for the
helpful.
purpose you did to create friction. But the other way that can work is if you essentially make the person agree that they are responsible for this, 5 times before they actually charge the card, in their head, they have committed to you, right? This isn't just, here's my credit card and I might just pull it later. It's fine. This is now, wait a minute. I've put my word on the line 5 times. Like, people generally, I mean, there's sociopaths out there and whatever, but generally people will not walk back on their word.
That's right.
As easily as they would just if there was no personal guarantee, that they had made.
And I don't think it's something you can. This is like a business to business solution, not to consumers, because they're never going to do that.
No,
if you go.
This is B2B.
Examples.
That's fair.
And so, it's just and we recovered. We dealt with it and moved on. And didn't dwell on it, but we did change procedures, and ultimately it was my fault. I wanted the cash quick. I wanted to make the sale. I don't recall if it was the end of the month, the end of the quarter, or whatever, but I get those dollar signs in my head, and I start thinking, man, a $58,000 sale right now is going to put us over the top. And I'm sure of it, even though this was, a number of years ago. I'm sure I was the driving force behind taking the credit card.
But you can't. I mean, there are going to be those moments where that driving force creates a scenario that you would prefer to have avoided.
Yes.
But that driving force is also what kept you in business after this happened to you, right?
It's a balance.
It's a balance. You take it and you're like, okay, I got ahead of myself on that one. But it is good to postmortem it and say, okay, what would I do differently? And in this scenario, you realized, okay, well, I would probably create this friction. You know darn well that this sale, that wasn't a sale in the end, would not have happened if you forced this guy to do a wire transfer.
Correct. Yeah, he didn't have the money.
No.
Clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's true. And so, it's just, you got to be super careful now. Fraud is crazy. I'm reading about like some of this AI phishing voice things coming up, and you just got to be diligent. We've been burned back in the day. We used to do COD shipments, and we've been burned with, get this, they were real traveler's checks, but because they were stolen, we got, they sucked the money out of our account. And, I had never, I wasn't even in the realm that how this would work. It wasn't that they were fake traveler's checks, is that they were stolen from like an American Express office or something. And they said, oh, they're not real. They were stolen. And, that that was a tough one. We eventually got FedEx to reimburse us because
I was going to say, because they're the ones that collected
they did
the payment.
the transaction and they paid it and all this kind of stuff. And so, but I would love to hear what you've done with your business to combat fraud. How do you deal with this stuff? What did I do wrong? Tell me, help us learn more, and so we don't get scammed out of the cash that we work so hard to make.
So hard.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Well, I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that story. I'd never heard that one before. That's that's an unfortunate one, but there's always lessons.
There is.
We call our mistakes our tuition, and now maybe you begin to understand why.
Expensive.
Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. Like he said, feedback@businessbrain.show. Make sure you check out our sponsor, gosquaredaway.com/contact. But please do send us that email, feedback@businessbrain.show. Keep living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday. Great.
Terrific.
Out there.
So those of you on streaming now, we're in between shows. We're going to get ready to record our Friday episode here in a couple of minutes.
There we go. Between the episodes.
Between the episodes, yeah. That's great. I enjoyed I didn't enjoy having that chargeback.
No, but
it is good to go through the process.
Yeah, after the fact. Give it a little time. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime that the bank has disagreed with me, I've been furious about it, really, because I've never had a chargeback that was my fault.
No.
We do the contract, we do the thing. We don't just charge people willy-nilly. These are B2B transactions. It's
correct.
It's not like we're just doing this randomly.
Yeah, you're not taking. You're not trying to scam anybody. You've got a legitimate business. You have to have a payment, methodology.
Yes.
And it's a challenge, man. We don't hold the cards in this relationship, right?
No, but right. Well, the buyer is always right in the eyes of the merchant provider. The credit card provider. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's super frustrating, and it's not like you can call and resolve these problems quickly. And there's somebody on there's no advocate for you.
No,
there's nobody that's going to say, "Oh, well, while we work this out, we're going to give you this money back." Despite that you'd be like, "Man, I can't pay my rent now."
It's the opposite. They'll give when if you call your credit card company and file a chargeback. They'll give you the money immediately and then do their investigation. And if it turns out not to be in your favor, which of course also happens.
As merchants, I kind of feel like we're guilty until proven innocent in the
and
credit card
it's tough to prove yourself innocent even when you think you have.
Even they always would ask this most ridiculous question because we were an online business. They say, well, did you have the card present while you were there?
Oh, come on.
And you're just like, give me a break. Come on.
That's not how the world works anymore.
No, not and that's a joke, so.
Yeah. It sucks.
Crazy.
All right. I put this. Oh, I need to do that one thing.
Okay. Sounds great.
There. One more thing. I liked it last week when the second episode just magically happened at this moment in time.
I loved that episode. It was just a great discussion back and forth with Ryan from the local, newsletter guy.
Yeah, and you're right. He kind of interviewed us without him knowing. I mean, he was just asking us questions. He wanted to pick our brains.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yep.
I enjoyed it. That's probably why I enjoyed it. Everybody loves to hear their own voice, right?
Well, that's it. Yeah. Everybody loves to be appreciated for what they have to share, too. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. I'm ready to rock on this next one here.
I'm ready to go. Yep, let's do it.
Okay, great. Here. Oh, I got to do this. Yep, there it is. This is much better now that I create the two banners, so I'm not having to edit one in the middle of doing the show.
That's good. That's great.
Okay, here we go. Business Brain, episode 527 for Casual Friday, February 23rd, National Rationalization Day, perhaps my favorite day of the year, 2024. folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take an idea, we dissect it, we analyze it, we use it to tune our business brains every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Squared Away empowers highly educated military spouses to become your remote executive assistants. I love this idea. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, at least when I'm recording this, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in California. I'm Shannon Jean. How's it going? Happy Friday, man.
Happy Casual Friday. National Rationalization Day. I liked it when I saw that one.
How do you do that? That's crazy. You can rationalize anything, right?
You can. That's the thing, is you're allowed to rationalize anything. I will be in Mexico on National Rationalization Day at an all-inclusive resort. So that seems like a dangerous combination.
Completely irrational.
But it seems completely irresponsible.
There's some great. I want to dig into that more.
Yes,
because I have some questions for you about that.
Okay.
That business model.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I wanted to mention just a quick tidbit of a way that I am. We've talked about AI on the show quite a bit, and ChatGPT and some Gemini and Copilot. All that stuff is great. And my concept is, or my framework is, we should be learning as much as we can about it as business owners, so that we understand it, so we're not left behind, so we're not afraid of it, like it's going to replace people, whatever. But we need to be on this, on the wave here. And I think we're just at the beginning of the wave. Charlie Munger always said, get on the wave as something starts. I rode the Apple wave.
Same.
For almost 20 years, ups and downs, and it had pros and cons. So I probably made more money when Apple was having trouble than I did when they were booming. But that's because I took advantage of inefficiencies that they were not able to control. But so I'm using ChatGPT a lot. I have the paid version, which allows us to do a few more things and more computing power, I guess.
Same.
We use it for our episode artwork, which is great. I love it. You can fine tune everything. It's a little quirky. You got to learn about it. It doesn't spell worth a darn. But,
No. I have been shocked the times that I've gotten correctly spelled things in an image. Like most of the time, I have my prompt to create an image. I know that when I need to create it for the podcast, I tell it I want a wide aspect ratio image, not a square image, because it works out better. So I've tuned all these things, and I always tell it, don't put any words in the image.
And you go and put the words in later if you need it.
If I want,
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. I've been able to this is not what I want to talk about, but it's interesting. Some of them I've done, I'll open it up in Pixelmator, and I can get in there and adjust the text and remove the wrong letter or whatever.
Yes.
So it's
I've done that too. Yeah. And Pixelmator is great if you're on a Mac. And by the way, the AI, on the AI topic, all of the ad reads I do for this podcast and all my other podcasts, I now have ChatGPT write my ad scripts. I take the things that the sponsors want us to say. Over the last 19 years, what I had previously done was I would just come up with my own version of their talking points. But I noticed that I'm a human. I would get into habits with it. And you probably noticed this too, folks. If we had the same sponsor on, 3 or 4 times over the course of a couple of months, you'd hear me say approximately the same thing. And so I started feeding them into ChatGPT. And now, and I tell it, make it funny and include the catchphrase from the show. So figure out how to say charmed life as part of the sponsorship. And so even if you've already heard the Squared Away ads that we've done in previous weeks, listen to today's again, because it's going to be different. And I always try and get ChatGPT to make things that will create a script that will make it tough for me to read without laughing. So
that's cool. That's great. Yeah. And so one of the ways I'm using it, I'm working on a new book called Escaping Employment, just kind of the story of not working for anybody my whole life and all the things we've talked about a lot. But what I thought was it'd be nice to have follow-up worksheets and maybe some worksheets and different things, course material after each chapter that either somebody could do themselves or maybe somebody could give to an employee if you wanted to learn about a specific topic that I discussed in that chapter. So that's what I've been doing. I upload the chapter that I've got done to ChatGPT, and I'll say, hey, I want you to analyze this content and create a set of worksheets that can go over each of those things and create two sets, one for an individual and another one that an employer could give to an employee if you wanted to learn about something. I mean, if I'm talking about hiring or cash flow or
That's
technology,
so
anything.
smart.
And the results are amazing. You do have to edit them to be sure it's
Of course.
kind of doing what you want, but that's great. I know how to edit, and
Editing is way easier than creating out of whole cloth.
Yeah, and it's my content. It's creating it from. I'm not asking it to create something to shortcut to write because a book, and it's been great, and it has really filled out. I'm about 10 chapters in, and each of these chapters now is got a whole set of curriculum that somebody gets with the book. So the book will be, maybe twice as useful, or maybe exponentially more useful, but certainly twice as much content, maybe 3 times as much content. So instead of maybe a 250-page book, somebody's going to get like a 500-page book that they can dip in and out of and learn different things. So it's just a way that I'm using it that I thought might be kind of interesting to share here on the show.
All right, folks. You ever feel like your to-do list is a hydra? Chop off one task and 2 more sprout in its place. Take me, for example. Coordinating recording schedules for the podcast is like trying to nail jelly to a wall sometimes. Tricky and messy. And don't get me started on research. It's a time-gobbling monster. Oh, and meetings? Without somebody there to take notes, I might as well be talking to my plants. They're great listeners, but not so hot on the follow-up. Enter the cavalry, a.k.a. our sponsor, Squared Away. These folks are on a noble quest to empower military spouses by turning them into your go-to remote executive assistants. It's like having your own business superhero, cape and all. Imagine having a sidekick who's not just reacting to fires, but is proactive, like a business-savvy fortune teller. Squared Away assistants are ready to leap tall buildings, or at least daunting to-do lists, in a single bound. And because they operate in all U.S. time zones and are as much a part of your team as anyone else, you're not just getting help, you're expanding your business family. So why wrestle with your schedule when you can have a Squared Away assistant do the heavy lifting? Don't wait. Contact Squared Away today to find out how they can help your business thrive. Just go to gosquaredaway.com/contact. That's gosquaredaway.com/contact. Here's to making your business life a breeze, and our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right, Shannon. Well, I mentioned in the intro that I'm going to be on at a resort in Mexico when these episodes come out, and you and I talked a little bit about that pre-show. And you had some questions. I'm going to see the band Fish, right? They're playing 4 nights on the beach in Mexico at a resort.
And so you've done this before.
I have. I think this is our 6th time, our 5th time, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And my comment was that why did it come up then? I'm trying to look up Fish's earnings for 2023. My comment was that Fish is basically a cult. And I thought, but I was saying that in a positive.
Yeah,
light.
yeah.
I mean, this band in last year, they did 41 shows. They sold just about 600,000 tickets.
Yep.
And they made the gross was just about $77 million.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
I'm like, okay, so this is great. This is a business that, how do I do this? How do you get this cult-like following of where people not just going to go to a concert, we're going to fly to another country.
Yes.
And we're going to stay at this resort for 4 days, and we're going to go watch the same band every single night.
Correct.
Why?
So there's a lot to dissect here, and I doubt and I've thought a lot about this, as you might imagine. Like, Lisa and I, before we met, we both were big fans of going to see live music. Right.
Okay,
that's also kind of how we met, but I'll leave that story for another time. Right after we met and started dating, we both found this band Fish. And so it's been a thing that's been a constant in our relationship that has been ours, right? There's other bands we like, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that Phish is my favorite band. I mean, it's probably, top 5, certainly top 10.
Okay.
But because it's this thing that Lisa and I found together, and every Phish show is different. They won't play, like in Mexico, we will not hear over 4 nights of music, we will not hear the same song repeated once.
How can that be?
They played 13 nights at Madison Square Garden and didn't repeat a song.
So they just keep producing more content for their cult members.
Correct. Right. But this keeps it interesting, right?
Yeah.
So if they're going to play 3, and so what Phish has become for Lisa and I mean, we enjoy the shows. I enjoy the band, of course.
Yes.
But more than that, when it has become sort of the easy button for us to plan our little couples getaways and vacations. Because, well, look, where is Phish touring this summer? Oh, they're going to be in Tahoe. I've never been to Tahoe. People in New England, Tahoe's a pain in the neck if you have to fly to get there.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Because it's not, you got to fly and then drive. Right. And so people don't do that generally. Phish fans certainly do. But I'd never been to Red Rocks before. We went to Red Rocks. This was 100 years ago, but like those kinds of things because we know, they're going to be in Tahoe for 3 nights, or they're in Red Rocks for 4 nights, or they're in Mexico for 4 nights. We know that we're not just going to see the same concert 4 times in a row, which I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah. So are these, when they show up at Tahoe, Red Rock, whatever, is it, okay, we're going to be there 3 nights.
They can't play Red Rocks anymore. This was an issue. The town of Morrison, Colorado isn't big enough to hold all the people that are going to show up. It's a whole other story.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly.
Is you always buy multiple night tickets, or you can go once, or they always do it like the series? It
depends. Okay. For Mexico, this is an all-inclusive thing. You buy a package that is your room, which of course it comes with your food and your drinks because that's how the resort works, and the concert tickets. That's it. And you were going to go see all of the shows. There's no like piecemealing those out.
Yeah, that's
when they play, say, Madison Square Garden. They played 13 nights a few years ago there, kind of in a row. It was one run. They would play like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then take Monday off, and then play Tuesday, Wednesday, and then take Thursday off, and then do Friday, Saturday. So they had this like thing, but it was just them. And you could buy a package of all 13 tickets. It's there on Ticketmaster. You could buy individual shows, of course. And you could also buy, you want to buy these 3 shows, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday block, and this Friday, Saturday, Sunday block. And so they'll put it all together because they know how their fans are, and they know what they've created that is of value to people. And they also know that people are going to buy more than, generally speaking, their fans are going to buy more than 1 ticket per tour. A lot of times, even a band that I would put as arguably my favorite band, the band Rush, they don't tour anymore because their drummer passed away a number of years ago. But like it was rare for me to see them twice on one tour because they basically played the same set list.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
And I would. There was one tour where I actually saw them 4 times. But
so the differentiation is part of the hook.
But they know that their fans are going to most likely see multiple shows. So they don't price their tickets like everybody else does because they know there's a maximum amount of money you can get out of people.
Okay. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Concert tickets are like, for a decent seat, you'll pay $200 to $300.
Yeah. Oh, easy. Yeah. Okay.
For the longest time, Phish wouldn't go over 50. And now they try to keep it under 100 per ticket. The economy and the concert market got to the point where 50 wasn't sustainable for what they needed to do. But so now it's 100. And there's some shows that might be 110 or something like that. But by and large, those tickets are relative to the rest of the industry inexpensive. The only place where that's not necessarily the case is Mexico. One year, I made the mistake of calculating what it would have cost to stay at the resort for the same days in the same room without tickets to see Phish.
Oh.
And that's when I realized, this is where they're making up the difference.
Because they only played 41 shows last year.
Yeah.
And made, almost $77 million. So
there's a joke in the concert industry that there are only 70,000 Phish fans, but they all go to every show. And
I love
I
it.
don't, I think it's probably more than that. I think they have more than that, but
Because you never hear, I would not even know who they are.
Correct.
If I did not know you. You
Correct.
don't hear their music. I don't ever get it even on a random playlist
Nope.
or radio thing on Apple Music. I don't, of course,
Nope.
you don't hear them on regular radio. So
Nope.
it's the, I guess my question to all of us is how do we, take they've inverted, right?
oh
They've-
yeah.
They've flipped it upside down on how the concert thing works.
Yes.
They have no hits as far as I know.
Nope.
They play.
I mean,
no.
no.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah,
they've
no,
heard it. But
definitely do not. Yeah.
you never hear the same song, which is what people always want to go. Say, I want to hear this song.
I want to hear my
listen to it.
favorite song.
My favorite song.
If
That's
you
out of
show
the
up at
window.
one Fish concert with one song in mind that you
Never
want to hear, you won't hear it. There was one song that Lisa, my wife, always wanted to hear. We started seeing this band in 1993, and they were playing it. The song had been written before that, and they were playing it a bunch in 1993. This song called Esther.
Okay.
The shows and we saw a lot of shows in like 93, 94, 95, always missed it, right? We never saw it. She did not see that song. We did not see them play that song until it was that 13-night run. We didn't go to all 13.
Yeah.
But that 13-night run at Madison Square Garden in 2017. So
That's
decades.
amazing. And while you're sitting there, all of a sudden you hear it.
Yep.
And you must go bonkers, right? 'Cause
Correct.
You're like, this is the song we wanted to
This
hear
is
for
it.
10 years.
Yeah,
So,
and it was funny because in line that night,
that's discovery.
waiting in line that night, she said, I'm hoping for Esther tonight. And a couple of people around us were like, yeah, like it is this 13 show run. Like these are the runs where you get this, like they're going to play everything. You most likely, right? Pretty
so
close.
It's kind of like going to Costco. It's a treasure hunt. You
It's
never
a treasure
know what's
hunt,
going to be there.
but you don't know when, right? And
You don't know when.
you don't even know if. Like they
so
could
you have to
skip
go,
that song.
If you want a chance, you have to increase your odds.
Yep.
You have to buy more tickets.
Correct.
And-
And when
and so-
that song started that night, I saw it was interesting because I saw the guitar player lean over to the piano player. It starts with like this carnival thing on the organ.
Okay.
And I saw him lean over and say the word Esther. And I didn't say anything to Lisa. I was like,
that's
I'll
cool.
just, I'm going to, now I get to watch. I know what's about to happen. I get to watch this happen. And she, lit up, of course.
Yeah.
And all the people around us who had been in line with us, it's all general admission. So you wind up sitting at the show with the people that you were in line with. And like half a dozen of them turned to her and they're like, hey, you get your
'cause they
Esther
knew,
tonight.
'cause
Because they knew. But that's
Okay.
part of the community of it is, and I think to create what they've created, and cult is not an incorrect word. It might have the wrong connotation. It might have the right connotation. I don't know.
No, in a positive manner for your customers.
Oh, yeah. Depends on your, but it's as we like going to the shows for a variety of reasons. The music is part of it. The crowd is the other part. And, I heard Steve Tyler from Aerosmith say once, he's like, look, I learned early on that we are just the hosts of a party every night, but the party's not about us. We just threw the party.
So,
but everybody, but it's about them. And Fish really,
so they're
embrace
creating
that.
the environment for everybody
Correct.
to connect.
that's it.
For everyone to have a great time.
Yep.
There's this discovery / treasure hunt aspect of it.
100%.
You never know. Yeah, you never know what it's going to be like. Oftentimes, you have to. Yeah, so you have to buy more to increase your chances.
We'll get halfway through they usually play 2 sets of music each night with a little set break in the middle. And we'll get halfway through the first set before we'll turn to each other and acknowledge like what type of show this is. Like it could be because they have a lot of different types of songs. I mean, they've been a band for 40 years and 30 plus years. And so they've got like hard rock songs. They've got like bluegrass type songs. They've got like more prog rock stuff. It all sounds like them because it's the same 4 guys making the music, but there's different vibes to it. And
Yeah.
it'll be like, we'll be 3 or 4 songs in and we'll look at each other and it's like, oh, rock show tonight. All right, cool, great.
That's cool.
And then the vibe kind of persists, So,
That's awesome. So it's basically the Costco of,
Yeah.
of
in a sense, with more community. I don't have
course.
quite the same community vibe
but
when I walk into
you
Costco.
talk about Costco, when you talk about Costco or
Yes.
whatever, everybody's like, "Oh, I love it." Well, then I found this thing and I went there and it was great. And I had every time I had to go back because I was worried they were going to be gone. But a lot of the shared things, and I'm gonna
It's
I'm gonna
the
break
mystery.
this-
It's the lore. Their
lore.
first,
I love
and I think that's really important to Fish's story. I think it's important to another band that's a favorite of mine, REM.
Yeah.
There's lore about how the band came together and all and the stories, and you don't necessarily know all the bits and pieces of it. And I think that it's some air of mystery, some air of a story that
the
people
story.
can weave together.
It's like the $1.50 hot dog at Costco.
Yes,
it's a story.
it's the story.
I'm not to. I'm saying, and I'm using these analogies as a compliment.
Yes,
because
you're right. But it's the
this
mystery, the
concept.
treasure hunt, the lore. Their first album really was just a musical that has yet to be like a musical, although they've performed it 5 or 6 times total in their career.
Okay.
But the songs from it wind up getting played here and there, but in its entirety, it's only been played, a handful of times. But it's a whole story about this, mythical group of creatures called the lizards, and they have this evil ruler, and it's a ridiculous story, but it's a story.
It's a story. Yeah.
And that thread winds through kind of everything that they do, and I think that kind of it gives you something to talk about. Yes,
absolutely. I love
Fish
it.
was
That's great.
Fish was one of the first bands to have an online presence. Long before the web existed, there was a news group that was dedicated just to the fans. The band was rarely part of it, but it was fans sharing set lists and stories and like all of the things. That's
great.
If you can create a scenario where your fans want to talk to each other,
absolutely,
you win.
Yeah,
you win. We did that with Mac Geek Gab. It's funny. Our fans of Mac Geek Gab, they like hang out. They have Zoom calls with each other. We don't even know they're happening. It's just, but it's the community. They're hanging out. They know each other. It's like great.
That's terrific.
This is freaking amazing.
I love it, and I love the you're part of a special club, a cult.
You're definitely part of a club. Oh yeah. Yeah, and when we get to Mexico, we'll see. We'll get there a little earlier than most people, but there's already some people there. I know because the online community. But over time, the resort just basically becomes taken over by Fish fans.
Makes sense.
And it's just the element, and it's a very welcoming community. You can be whoever you want. Nobody cares.
That's great. Well,
which is great.
That's terrific. I'm going to break this down and do this Costco comparison thing because I'm fascinated by how this works. If you want to see that, come up on on X, on Twitter. Just follow me, Shannon Jean, and I'm going to do this on Friday when we release the show. And so we can kind of compare these two things. I think there's a great connection there.
I like it. I can't wait to read your thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's nice to get away and thaw out a little bit and go stand on the beach. It's great standing barefoot watching a concert. It doesn't get much better.
Yeah.
I'll see you when I get back. Keep living that charmed life, folks. And we're out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to end the stream,
good.
folks,
Sweet.
as we wrap up. We'll see you here again next week. Take it easy.